Welcome back for another edition of Motor City Realist. I'm your host, Mike. This is my co-host, Zach. Zach, man, how are we doing?
Doing well, man. It's October now, so pumpkin spice lattes are in full effect. Depending on where you live, leaves are changing color, and
Depending on where you live.
Yeah, and baseball season is kicking off now that preseason's over. So yeah, it's cool.
Absolutely, and we got the Tigers to root for all, October baseball. No, we don't. But anyways, yeah. So Zach, obviously we usually record on Wednesday nights. Last night, what was the Belly Up Hockey Super Show? So we gave them the night for the YouTube channel. But excited. This is again the home of the 3-1 Detroit Lions, coming off a shellacking. Nothing prouder than that Green Bay game. Obviously, we'll talk the Panthers, and we got a few segments that you want to introduce this week. So Zach, anything before we get right into that Green Bay game, because I know we really jump right into it. But anything you wanna touch on real quick?
I don't think so. I think we're ready to get into it. I like the shout out you gave to hockey. I will say, hockey's right around the corner for any of our listeners that also enjoy the good old NHL that kicks off on Tuesday. So other than that, this is really the last go around where it's just football. So I'm ready to get right into it.
They say it's supposed to be like the greatest time of the year because there's so many different sports intermingling, but we'll just see. We'll pump the brakes right there, and we'll just continue to follow these hot Detroit Lions. So speaking of which, takeaways from that game. We always give you our predictions, our previews, kind of everything that we talk about. We were texting during the game, but Zach, man, what do you think after that? Obviously, no Aaron Rodgers, but I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, 4 in a row now against Green Bay, and if Green Bay owns Chicago, we now own Green Bay, and I guess by the transitive property, we also own the Chicago Bears. So that's nice. But no, I think you gave them. I think you gave us a 10-point win. I gave us a 7-point win. So you're a little bit closer. We had a 2-tutty win at Lambeau on Thursday night, like we talked about last episode. That was prime time, and that was Detroit's show, and they took advantage of it. And let me tell you a short story real quick, actually, to kick things off here. I was at my buddy's house, and he's a Brazilian guy, and we were watching one of his soccer teams at the same time that we were watching this game. He knows nothing about American football, by the way, and he looks at me and he says, it was second quarter, and it was 24-3 at this point, and it was winding down, and he's used to soccer, which is 2 halves, and he's like, man, look at this. This is over. You guys won this easily. And I go, no, man, it's only halftime. And he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, 4 quarters. And in his big Portuguese accent, he's like, bro, you guys are giving it to them in the ass, bro.
There you go. The translation. So there it is.
Yeah. So we were Lions doing work this week.
That's great. I love it. So obviously we touch about everything. The biggest takeaway from that game for me was yes, first half we looked great. Second half did make me a little weary. It felt like we were kind of in that mode where we're like, oh, we're up. We're just going to come out second half and we just want to control the clock and kind of kill it. And they kind of caught up with us. We gave up some points. But then I think when we needed to, we made some changes. We went down and scored again. But, a close call with Brian Branch. We were texting back and forth. And to me, I mean, the way that it happened and the way that everything was going on, I really felt like it was an Achilles. Good to hear. It's just an ankle. I mean, again, he had another great game. I picked Sutton to have the big game. Again, a quiet night. I feel like he kind of like was like Hutchinson kind of start the season. He's really not filling up the stat sheet, but I don't feel like people are really picking on him. Jerry Jacobs had the game, the 2 picks. So, pleasantly surprised. We see everyone continue to develop. But what are your kind of takeaways from this game? And obviously Jordan Love and Green Bay, they were healthy. They got all their guys back. So there's no excuses there outside of not having Aaron Rodgers. But kind of what were your key focus points there and takeaways from this game?
Yeah, like you mentioned, Branch led the way on tackles. Jerry Jacobs with the 2 picks. I think you gave Jacobs a shout out on the last episode. I almost texted you about that. I couldn't remember, but yeah. So I mean, good things there. Aaron Jones, who you mentioned actually last week, he notoriously beats up on the lines. He was a non-factor,
Yes.
which I think is just an advantage of us getting so ahead so early. To take him out of the game, I think was huge. Um, one of the biggest things that I noticed, and I'm going to touch again a little bit on this later in the episode, but we ran the ball 40 times with running backs. I think
Yeah.
Goff scrambled a couple times, and then Raymond had a rush it. But running backs 40, and we only threw 28 passes. So, and a bulk of that work went to Montgomery again. So, I guess I was anxious to talk with you about that. It seems still, as much as we want Gibbs to be more involved in the offense, the majority of the workload is going to Montgomery. And
Yeah. And
you know,
I mean, he's playing good. I mean, you can't.
yeah,
I know. Hey, we're getting the wins, so kudos. We're slowly developing the guy, but I you don't have to rush it. I do want to see him more. Obviously, I want to see more from him, but I mean, you can't take away from what David Montgomery's doing. It's one of those things that you're losing. You're losing these games. You're going to see players like that more often, probably because you want to get them in there. But I feel like we can slowly develop these guys. Again, we'll talk about Jameson Williams and stuff like that coming back. I don't think we're in a situation where we have to rush this. We want to keep people healthy. I was just really surprised that Montgomery played the way he did, being that he was questionable going into the game. So lot of love for Gibbs here. I still want to see him get going. I think we got to realize is it's only four games in so far, but we're playing for the long haul. We want to keep these guys healthy.
yeah, that's my biggest thing that I've noticed about it is that, if things are working, then you might as well just, ride Montgomery, save Gibbs. He's the younger back. But I also think that this probably had something to do with bringing Montgomery on board in free agency. I have a feeling, like, just with the way that Campbell and Holmes are, that they were very open with him. Like, listen, hey, we're clearing out our backfield. We want to sign you, but we are also going to we're also going to target a running back in the draft. And whatever that is, however that shakes out, we still want you to be our main back.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably a selling point to Montgomery. So he gets here. So I'm not surprised that he's getting the bulk of the workload. And like you said, he's performing. So you really can't be mad about it.
Yeah. And I don't know if you saw, I know you're on social media more, but there's statistic that they had these guys lined up side to side. As far as our running backs based off of what we gave up last year with Swift and Jamal. And the statistics are almost identical side by side. Obviously, Swift the first week didn't do anything. The past couple of weeks, he's been tearing it up. So he's been obviously the biggest provider of yards between that duo. But another one, even with Gibbs not really, I guess, performing right away, still a lot to be excited about. Montgomery's, he's always been a workhorse. This thing has been, him beat up. So I think we're looking good, but yeah, that overall, I mean, it was nice to see the pass rush once again. Those guys get after it.
5 sacks.
I mentioned Jordan Love. He's one of those guys that he can extend the pocket, but usually those guys, once they get out, sometimes can make mistakes. Sometimes can, create more sacks for the team because they're kind of scrambling. But overall, defense played great, and I think our defense. You talk about Aaron Jones. I think our defense is, if I not 100% with the stat, but I think they're the number one rush defense, only giving up like 68 yards a game.
Yep. Yeah, we are the number one rush defense. Our boy, I laughed. I think I texted you about Isaiah Buggs got a sack. Shout out Isaiah Buggs. For any of you repeated listeners, we talked about him way back in the episode 1. Love that he gets on the field. Love that he gets a sack. It gives our takes of the Lions having so much depth to use, and now it holds more weight, right? Because because we talked about Bugs being that depth, and now he gets a chance to play. Not only does he play, but he also produces. And so there's our depth. There's like the proof, the evidence of our depth, which is encouraging to see. The other thing I wanted to touch on that we talked about last week was third downs. We said we were going to look at third downs.
Yep.
Green Bay was much better than Detroit was going into this game. But in this game, Green Bay was 3 for 11, which I think is like a 27%, and Detroit was 7 of 17 at about 41%. So we won the third down battle. And huge. We said, I think we agreed that if we win the third down battle, we'll win the game.
Absolutely. I think you said that, absolutely, which is a big proponent to that. And, we stopped them. We put them in a lot of third and long situations that it bode well for us. And I think that created a lot of, again, turnovers, but starting off the game, with the golf interception early, it was like, really, is this the route we're going on right now?
Yeah, 3 in a row now.
So, but no, I mean, overall, really excited. Again, we're kind of still well on our predictions for the season so far. Green Bay, I definitely thought we had to win this game. It was, I think we mentioned it, is this a must-win game? And I didn't go as far as saying it was absolutely over, but I think it was very important for the division. Obviously, the Bears are playing tonight, 0-4, and then I even told you a little bit ago, I kind of want them to win just to make the division look a little better, get that one win. Hopefully we'll go into the play with the Panthers. And I feel like last year we lost a tough one to them. So another kind of revenge game. It's kind of the way I'm seeing these things stack up. But overall, really, really pleasantly surprised with everything. But again, another one of those games that I don't think offensively, like we really blew. I think that's what I like. Even though I like the flashy games, the yards, the big plays.
Mm-hmm.
We're able to control the game. We're able to control the clock. We're able to do different things. We don't have to, get bunch yards all the time where, we're chasing everybody, where we can actually control. Like I said, we came out second half a little flat. I think we were kind of trying to control the clock a little more than we needed to. But I think overall, you can see really continue to do well and really just across the board kind of open everything up.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that because you're right. We seem more like we're not a Bills or a Dolphins or a Chiefs kind of offense. We're much more like a 49ers, I guess it would be a good comparison, where we're just a well-oiled machine that still produces points. And I think through 4 games is fair enough to say that this is probably how we'll operate for the rest of the season. You're just going to see this methodical, and when it works like that, like it did against Green Bay on Thursday Night Football, it's like, you get ahead so fast. Like, I mean, Green Bay was up 3-0, and then it was like 17-3 so quickly. And it's just when you get that offense in a groove, I see what you're saying, because like you as a fan, you want to see those highlight plays, those things that get you out of your chair. But at the same time, if you've got a well-oiled machine that can produce points, like you can feel so comfortable as long as you start the game on the right foot, because you're just gonna be clicking.
Absolutely. So I think we covered pretty well a lot of it. Obviously a lot going on, not tons and tons. I mean, there's tons to talk about, but obviously as we move on with our segments, Zach, I don't know if you want to get right into the Panthers game, the Carolina game, or if you want to introduce any of your segments and kind of work them in. I'm interested, you came up with some segments. We're looking forward to breaking up the show. It's kind of how we already, break up the show by different parts of the show, but we got these actual segments. So Zach, how you want to do it? You want to get into the Panthers, or you want to introduce a segment here?
Yeah. Let's do the first segment as we get into the Panthers. So this first segment, what Mike and I are going to do every week is we're just going to put ourselves in the shoes of the other team, and we're going to ask ourselves, am I scared of the Lions? And before I go into any more of this segment, just remember that we are realistic. Okay. So we're not going to sit here and say no every time. We'll be honest. We'll say, and this is not something we talk about, right? So Mike and I are both going to give our candid review on, am I scared of the Lions going into this matchup? So like you mentioned, we've got the 0-4 Panthers coming up this week. Maybe a little bit of a cupcake answer to start off this segment on the season, but that's all right. We'll take it. So I'll go first. Am I scared of the Lions as the Panthers? Yes, I think I am. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, a rookie quarterback, Bryce Young, highly accoladed. It's taken him a little bit to get going. Obviously, CJ Stroud with the Texans is hitting his stride a little more. Still a lot of football to be played. But I mean, also, he can have one of those games. But yeah, definitely the situation. They've lost some players. Obviously, they added some players. Thielen in Minnesota has always been kind of Achilles to us. Now he's over there. They don't got Dante Foreman, but they got Miles Sanders. So still a little bit of firepower. DJ Shark is over there now, so there's a little bit to be said about that. But I think this is a game that you got to walk away from. Putting it kind of on them. There's no reason that defense should really shut down their offense. And same with our defense. I think overall it's a great matchup. So I definitely think that the Carolina definitely is thinking about us and trying to scheme and put everything in that they can.
Yeah, I would agree. And if you're, I mean, they didn't do us any favors last week. You mentioned you're looking for these other teams to, or maybe for our. Well, I guess in one way they did do you a favor, right? Because the Vikings won, so that makes the division look not as terrible. But didn't help us in the standings, I guess. But yeah, the main reason, if I'm the Panthers, that I'm scared of the Lions is the Panthers have the 6th best passing defense, actually, which might shock some people because they're 0-4. But they have 27th. They rank 27th in rush defense. And what did the Lions just do last week? They ran the ball more than they passed the ball, and they destroyed the Packers. And you know what? Those running backs are coming off of 10 days rest because they played on Thursday.
Absolutely.
So I think if the Panthers are not prepared for us to run the ball down their throat, they are going to end up just like the Packers. They're going to be down by 3 scores at halftime. If I'm a Panthers fan, I am very scared of these Lions because my defense does not match up to their offense.
No, I agree. Like I said, kind of same thing. Even though that stat still impresses me, I don't think it should be any issue or any concern. With this game again, I mentioned a few things. They got a few defensive players that are stout, but overall, I don't feel like they're as well oiled as a machine as what we've got going. And again, we still got a long ways to go. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this game. I'm not too concerned about it. This is one of the few times that I can say that going into a game, I don't feel like it's like, oh, this or that. I really feel like we should walk away with this rather easy.
Yes. I guess the only reason you touched on it, I think like 5 minutes ago, you mentioned that Carolina did beat us by 2 touchdowns on Christmas Eve last year. So I guess if I'm a Panthers fan, I can hold a little bit of that. I could be like, no, we could beat these guys, But they're kind of like a new look Panthers, like you mentioned, you got Bryce Young at quarterback now. So yeah, I really don't see a way that this game really works out for Carolina unless Detroit just absolutely beats themselves.
Yeah.
But I'm looking for a couple things. I'm looking for. I already touched on the running backs to break out, have a big game. I'm gonna assume it's the same deal where Montgomery is getting a majority of the touches, but we'll just see how it plays out. I think even like in my fantasy league, my dad has both Gibbs and Montgomery. And so I told him, I said, I think this is the week you just play them both. Like Panthers rush defense is bad. They're coming off 10 days rest. I think we see both of them go off. I think the one thing we need to do on defense is just not give up a big play. Yeah. I don't think our pass rush it doesn't have to be lights out this game. I think if you just force Bryce Young to throw the ball, I think we will win.
Make mistakes, yeah. I think that Young, unsolicited, he's a rookie. I think, you still want to play disciplined football, obviously. You don't have to dial it up as much. Maybe they may even dial it up more because of just he's a rookie, to make him go on. But either way, I think it's easy to say don't give up the big play. Obviously, that's what we don't want to do. But that really, do I think they're gonna chunk, gouge us here and there, chunk plays? No, I think we should be able to get a couple 3 and outs on them and kind of pad the stats, and then we should be able to run both Gibbs and Montgomery.
Yeah, I agree. I will. I'm gonna give. I know they beat us by 14 last year. I'm gonna give us. I think we win by a ton this game. We may not score a ton just because we may not need to. So I think it may be like very much like the Falcons game ended up, which I think was 20-6. So I'm gonna give us like a 27-10 win.
Oh yeah, I like it. I think I've shot in the 30s. I think the past couple of weeks. I'm right around like 24-10. I don't want to go as much into 30, so I think we're pretty much on the same page there. I think they'll get one, on a field goal again. But I think, I mean, maybe even this is the game where I say, hey, we should get 30, but I'll be happy with a 24-10, two touchdown victory again, and kind of pack it in, and let's see, get. I know we keep talking about but get a decent enough league where we can get Gibbs some extra carries.
Yeah. Well, I think as far as predictions go this year, I think you've been much closer than I have. I think almost every time. So, so 24-10 is what you got. I got 27-10. We're pretty much on the same page there. All good. Anything else that you want to touch on with this Carolina game coming up? I know that it feels like we don't have a whole lot to say. I know because they're 0-4, and it's a game that flat out we should win. But I'm going to introduce another segment unless there's anything else you want to talk about in this Panthers.
No, you're good. And if you see kind of like a glare of light up on my face, I'm just tweeting the episode and doing different things. So I'm with you. But no, I think not a lot to talk about with Carolina. I don't want to necessarily kind of overlook them. You don't want to do that in any professional sport, right. But I think definitely you have to think this game sets up well for us.
I've been surprised, actually, now, like real quickly before we move on, about these Panthers. Adam Thielen, I'm just surprised that, like, when he was on the Vikings, he was almost a household name, and it feels like you almost forget he's in the league now.
Yeah, kind of.
And is that just because Bryce Young is his quarterback, or like?
Yeah, I mean, you're not getting. I mean, they're probably not a national team. He's an 0-4 team, so it's not like they're getting a lot of publicity. I think he was a little banged up here and there, but yeah, not a lot of stats coming out of Carolina.
It's like, and I mean, I don't follow Carolina or Minnesota very closely, but I almost feel like I didn't even realize that was. I mean, I know Carolina played Minnesota last week, but I forgot that like that was Adam Thielen's like. And there was, I feel like nobody, the media, none of the NFL coverage was talking about, unless I just completely missed it. I don't know if you saw any of it, but there was no like Thielen playing Minnesota type of headlines, which was weird.
No, and to tell you the truth, I didn't follow it all that close. I don't know if he was out, but I knew he was banged up this past week, so I'm not sure. But that really, yeah, I mean, I did not follow. The only thing I follow, and I kind of resort to this is Kirk Cousins being my fantasy quarterback, and he laid an egg this week. So,
yeah. All right. We will slide then into this other segment I want to introduce, which is how do we stack up? That's what we're going to call it. We're going to call it for now. We're going to call it how do we stack up? And what we're going to do is we're going to take the Lions record. We're going to take every other team with that record, same record. Those are the only teams that apply. And we're just going to ask ourselves, are we better or worse than this team? So as time goes on, the list will probably shorten as just we get more games and we just get less people at the same record. But for right now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give I'm going to throw out a team. We're going to get Mike's answer. I've got my answers written down right here. If we agree, we'll just give a quick splurge and move on. If we disagree, we'll break it down a little bit. So to kick it off, let's go with the Chiefs first. They're at 3-1. Are we better than the Chiefs?
I think it's funny because I was thinking about this earlier. I was like thinking to myself with the situation with the Chiefs, we beat them. They go into what was it, overtime last weekend or something like that, and it's like, are we that much better than the Chiefs, or was it not overtime with? I don't know. Either one, it was the Bears or something like that. But or no, the Bears, they shellacked the Bears. I'm all over the place. But I feel like, we match up obviously good. We already beat them. They had two key components down, but I feel like, are we that much better than the Chiefs, or have the Chiefs taken a few steps back? And I think while we are better than the Chiefs, I do feel that this is not the same Chiefs that we've talked about in years. They've taken a few steps back. So I do think we are better, but I don't think they're the NFL favorite anymore to compare us to, you know. So it's not hard for me to say, yeah, we compare better and we're better than them.
Yeah, I think I would agree with actually everything that you just said. I put yes just based on the fact that we beat them. I think if it's any type of toss up, we got the same record.
Yeah,
Right? So
you
these
put it
are
on
all
paper.
toss
There you
ups.
go. Yep.
Yeah, and it's head to head. So yep, I give a yes. We are better than the Chiefs. We both agree on that. So next one is going to be the Ravens.
Ravens. Ooh, this is a tough one because that team was like the past week finally finding its identity. I think early on they were a little shaky. The Ravens still have their defense, but I'm gonna say that I think we stack up better. I think we would win against them. Um, Lamar Jackson is obviously Lamar Jackson, but there's not a lot of outside of tight ends in the past have killed us, but there's not a lot of players on the team that really scare me other than Lamar Jackson. And I think the way our defense is playing seems like we've bode well against these scrambling quarterbacks, although he's a totally different scrambling quarterback. He's definitely going to get his, but I would like to say that we stack up and we win that game.
Yes, I also put yes. I think that I think the Ravens with who they are now have been around for a little bit. I think like this identity of the Ravens, this whole Lamar Jackson paired with John Harbaugh and running the ball a ton and all of that. Whereas I think the Lions are a little bit of a newer look Lions and they're a little more unpredictable. They surprise more teams. Whereas I think when you're playing the Ravens, I think you know exactly what you're going to get.
Yeah.
And when you have the level of coaching that we have, you're going to be prepared for that every time. So
Absolutely.
I agree. I'm on yes for that one as well. Next up is the Buffalo Bills, 3-1.
This is where I'm probably going to say there's a little bit of difference. We're not quite on that level. You saw the Dolphins kind of leading the way the past couple weekends as being kind of like the NFL favorite, and then Buffalo pretty much just went in and handled their business and scored at will. I definitely think there's a lot more firepower there. James Cook is coming along really well. Obviously, Josh Allen, that team overall is definitely punctuated the AFC there, and I think we're a few games short of them.
Okay. 3 for 3 so far. I also put no. I think the Bills are ahead of us. I think they would beat us if they played us. As a matter of fact, I think if we played 10 times, they'd probably beat us 8 times. But a couple years ago, they would have, if we played them 10 times, they would have beat us 12 times. So, we're getting better, and that's just maybe that's a Super Bowl preview right there. How awesome would that be? We play the Bills in the Super Bowl. No, but absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Bills a little bit better. We just saw what they did to Miami. They're also one of only 3 teams that have more touchdowns than the Lions. The Dolphins being another one of them.
Yes.
Dolphins, Bills, and 49ers, who we won't talk about because they're 4-0, so they're not on this list.
Yes.
But 3 for 3 match so far. 4th one. We got 7 of these. This is a 4th one. Is the Buccaneers.
No, Buccaneers. I don't know what they're doing to be 3-1, or I don't. I feel like still a Baker Mayfield led team, and I love that guy Swagger. He was like Johnny Manziel. I was always big fans of these guys. But no, I think we take care of business against them, and yeah, I mean, they don't really have a running game.
Yeah. Funny how you put that, but yes. I also think we're ahead of the Bucs. I didn't expect you to be like, yeah. Who are these Bucs at 3-1? Which because I agree. Like, I don't know how they're 3-1. It's because they've played
That's
the
their
Bears
second
and the
team.
Vikings already.
That's their second team, yeah.
Their loss coming to the Eagles, which they obviously should lose. And then they beat the Saints, which, who are the Saints these days anyway. Yes. So, yeah, Bucs, I think, a little lucky to be 3-1, but we'll touch on that a little bit later. We got that game flexed, first flex of the season.
There you go.
Which is pretty cool. But yep. Okay, 4 for 4 now. 3 left. This one is going to be the Miami Dolphins.
Even after what Buffalo did to them, I still think we played them recently, and it was a decent game, but too much firepower. Even though our secondary, I think C.J. Gardner-Johnson back there would give us not necessarily the edge, but maybe more competitive. But I cannot stand their coach, but I just got to give it to them. I can't. I mean, they haven't. I mean, they lost to Buffalo, but that's not like it's not like a slouch of a team. So I can't fault them for that.
Yeah, that's a good loss to have. Conversely, Buffalo's one loss was the Jets, which is not a good loss to have, but it was also first game of the season, so you kind of getting the cobwebs out. But yeah, I agree with you. I think the Dolphins are better than the Lions right now. That could change by the season end, of course, but just too prolific of an offense. I think our defense could hang with them for a couple quarters maybe, but eventually I think they toast us. So we're still agreeing through 5. And luckily the 2 that we both have no are in the AFC, so we won't have to deal with them until we get to the Super Bowl. But same division too. But I'm curious on these last 2 because I think we might have some interesting conversations on these last 2. So first up, we'll do the Seahawks. Where are you at with the Seahawks?
This kind of is kind of talking out both sides of my mouth because talking about beating Kansas City and saying, "Oh yeah, we beat Kansas City," but we lost to Seattle. I think we play them again. Totally different situation. Obviously, because we lost them, there's more. But nothing about that game screamed that we should have lost it. I think as we continue to develop, continue to go along, we get more polished. Obviously most teams and stuff like that, but I just can't look at them and be scared of that team like Buffalo or Miami.
So you're on the side of yes, we are better than the Seahawks.
Yes.
Okay, I put no. So this would be our first contrasting.
I know we lost to them. I get it.
Yeah, that's really the only reason. Like, because I agree with you. I think if we play the Seahawks 10 times, we beat them 8 times, right? And this just happened to be one of the 2 times that they beat us. Because I agree with you, we shouldn't have lost that game, and it was kind of before Dan Campbell said, we're just trying to figure out this pass rush, man. As soon as we get that figured out, I swear to you, man. And they figured it out, right? They've been ever since then, they've been fine. So I'm so inclined to be like, yes, we are better than the Seahawks, but I think until we play them again, I can't say it. So that's why I'm on the side of no. But I see what you're saying, that I do think if we played them again, we would win. Yeah. So last but not least, but also, can I just say before we move on from the Seahawks, kind of like in the camp with the Bucks, where it's like, how are you 3-1? I don't really get it, but
yeah.
Dallas Cowboys.
I'm on the fence here, because they had one bad game, which was a loss, obviously. But I think right now it's our strength versus their strength, their defensive line versus our offensive line. My only concern is, even though we've been consistent on offense, we still have had some injuries bite us. We've rotated, and they still held up well. Don't get me wrong, but I just think that I'm not going to say this has nothing to do with the same old Lions, but I think this is one of those games that should be so competitive that somewhere it just doesn't work out for us, and I think we lose it. This was a pick that I had late in the season that we were going to lose to anyways. A lot can change from now until then, but I just, for some reason, I just can't get past beating Dallas.
Okay, I actually had a feeling that you would say. I said yes. First off, I said yes, that we would better than the Cowboys. I don't think I think it's very close, right? I don't think this is like we're way better than the Cowboys, but I had a feeling you would be on that side because we talked about that in episode 1. You had them lose. You had us losing on the schedule to Dallas late in the season. I think I was not worried at all. I'm a little more worried now with the way they've played, and especially this past week. They just shellacked the Patriots. But the reason I have yes is because of the Cowboys. I think if it was like everything's on the line, this is a big game, and we're playing the Cowboys, I think we win just because they're the Cowboys, and we're not the same old Lions. Was that the Was that the pass interference game? Or
Years
the
ago, Pettigrew.
picked up flag or whatever it
Yes.
was? Yeah. That was the last time we really had a shot at the Cowboys in a game that means something.
Yeah.
Of course, they're always our brother on Thanksgiving. They're the one that everyone watches. We're probably the one that nobody watches. But,
take a nap during our game.
But yeah, so all right, so that wraps up the that wraps up the segment of how do we stack up.
Yes.
Let us know. Let us know. Reach out to us, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, whatever. If you like these segments, if you don't, we'll throw them out. If you do like them, we might throw them out anyway. Who knows? But yeah, that was fun. I like seeing how we both think we stack up against the other teams with our record. Obviously, we can't do it with the 4-0 and the 2-2 teams. It's just too obvious. We're always going to lean towards whoever has a better record.
Yeah.
So, but this gives a little more fun. So
absolutely.
All right. Anything that around the league, we're entering bye weeks now, right? So this wraps up. Everyone has gone through 4 games. We got our first round of byes this week. Any news from around the league this past week?
Nothing too crazy, kind of around the league, but basically they're nothing too crazy from last week, but more so a lot developing going into this week. You've got Cooper Kupp eventually coming back. He had a full practice today. Jonathan Taylor, full practice today, not knowing what's going on. He's healthy, but what's going on between him and his team. The Browns early on, had one of the earliest bye weeks. You look at that schedule and you're probably like, man, I got a bye week that early in the season. They're banged up. Deshaun Watson. I don't know if you heard the news about Njoku, their tight end, who blew himself up like a few nights before the game. He was lighting a bonfire, 3rd-degree burns, 2nd-degree burns all over his face and stuff like that. But so kind of coming at a really good time for them, but a lot going on, entering these bye weeks, going into this week, JMO getting reinstated. We haven't even touched on that, which is, obviously it is what it is, but what to expect from him. I think they're going to, a lot like Gibbs, slowly progress him in. I think he'll be in those plays where you blow the top off the defense, but a lot overall, not one focus. Big, obviously, I talked about, with that Bills-Dolphins game, it did not disappoint. I thought Dolphins would finally have their number and kind of, get it out on them. But no, really, we've had some good football so far. And obviously it's good to be a Detroit fan right now. So looking at the rest of the league and looking at this Bears game right now, 17-0 against Washington. So a lot going on and a lot of parity in the NFL.
Oh man, I picked up. I said this a couple episodes back, but my
Washington's defense.
Yeah, my strategy defense been picking up whoever plays the Bears, so that's gonna bite me this week. But yeah, Bills handle. I wanted to talk about the Bills, or I wanted to mention the Bills handling the Dolphins. So I'm glad you brought that up. That was, AFC East still runs through Buffalo. I guess I expected that to be a little more of a shootout than it was. Obviously Buffalo was having fun, but expected more points out of Miami. That was interesting. How about Zach Wilson coming to life a little bit?
I think it was like the perfect scenario. But now we got to see that 2 weeks in a row to be real believers.
Oh yeah, of course. Okay,
there's a lot of hate coming his way.
This is why this is why I love you as a co-host, man. You're so realistic. You're like, yes, great, but we need to see it, because I was ready to be like Zach Wilson, but you're right. We got to see it 2 weeks in a row. You're so right. We touched on it a little bit earlier. Belichick gets handed his worst career loss. Dallas Cowboys slapped it on him 38-3. But he backed up his boy Mac Jones a little bit. So
it's funny you say that, because I saw a lot of things out there that said more people in America would rather have Zach Wilson over Mac Jones.
Yeah, really? That is interesting, actually.
So I don't know. That was again to add some parity to the NFL.
Yeah, I want to know what Americans they asked, because they did not ask me.
That Brazilian guy that you had on your couch watching soccer.
Yeah, probably. All Ohio, your great homeland of Ohio, scores just 6 points combined, a field goal from each Cleveland and Cincinnati. That has
Yeah.
got to be
I
rough.
don't know. I mean, Cleveland, you'd kind of expect that, but I don't know what's going on with Joe Burrow and the Bengals. I mean, and the thing is with the way Buffalo and Miami's playing, you can't have too many more of these weeks. Otherwise, you're
Right.
completely out of it.
Yep.
Baltimore obviously is going to be run away with that division, if that's how it's going to be. And I don't think Baltimore's in that league with Miami and Buffalo.
Yeah. And I guess they're both kind of lucky that Pittsburgh struggled as well.
Yeah.
Which I didn't have them on my news from around the league, but I think they got smacked by Houston, right? It was like 30-6 or something.
Houston playing good ball, yeah.
Yeah. The Broncos stormed back against the Bears, which was crazy. I think 17 points in the fourth quarter. Yep. And then the other big story, last one I have on my list here, is Khalil Mack became just the fifth player. Yeah, became the fifth player ever to record 6 sacks in a game.
So it's funny. I saw a thing. Josh McDaniels came out and said, "Hey, we even game plan for him. Probably 30 to 40% of the game, we double teamed him." And one of these companies ran the stats, and they said there was 2 plays where the Raiders ran double teams against him. So insert foot into mouth.
Oh man, yeah, that's why would you even like?
I don't know.
I don't know why you would say that if you. Yeah, that's crazy. That's all I had for news around the league.
No, I think I'm good. I like the segments. I like we got into the news around the league. Overall, good. I don't want to. We don't need to carry this out. We'll go into Carolina and take care of business, and then we'll be back here next week.
Well, yeah, let's just wrap it up real quick then, because I titled the episode, so I feel like I got to bring it up. The Lions got the first flex game of the year.
Yep.
That'll be not this weekend, so we'll talk more about it, I guess, in our next episode.
Yes.
That'll be against the Bucks, which I did think this was a little weird because they flexed it into 4:30 or 4:25, whatever it is. But they're both Eastern
East
Standard
Coast,
Time
East
teams. Yeah, so I'm thinking like it must be like I bet you they're going to name it a
game of the week or something. Yeah.
Which is exciting for Detroit fans because we're that's normally Dallas 50% of the time, but
yes.
But yeah, cool to see us in a flexed game. I will be at that game.
There you go. I figured I was going to have
fun. Yeah. So other than that, that's all I got for this week.
Right on. Me too, man.
I'll let you bring us home.
No, I appreciate. Excuse me. 3-1 Detroit Lions. Hopefully we'll come out of it 4-1. That should be the prediction for us. I didn't go over any betting lines. I didn't really look into it a whole lot. This should just be pretty straight money line Detroit. So, but yeah, with that being said, I appreciate you guys hanging out with us. We're on YouTube, Twitter, obviously find us on podcast. Check out our pages and all that stuff. But yeah, I'm Zach. He's Mike. Wait, no, I'm just joking. I'm Mike. He's Zach. Yeah, he's but
Rebecca.
No, yes, Rebecca. It's spinning right there. Producer, we appreciate it, Rebecca. Don't turn off the lights too early. So, but we appreciate you guys being with us, and we'll see you guys all next week.